roster is the roster because of LeBron James. He is not the victim of this. So look, the Lakers have won some games, and so then it starts with the, oh, well, and AD's going to be ramping up, and, Russ has accepted the bench role, and Thomas Bryant's been pretty good. They got to get LeBron some help. And then they've got the headline. LeBron calls out the Lakers, whether that's what happened or not. That's like the headline that goes out everywhere, okay? About how, basically they don't have a good enough team, and so they need to, who cares about first-round draft picks, even if they're in the future? They need to make the moves because the window's now. We got to win now, whatever else. And that's all fine, right? If you want to have that, if he feels that way, if people feel that way, that LeBron, that they should make win now moves, even if they do forego some future assets, then so be it. But, and I don't know what you're going to say about this when I say this. I got to tell you, when I see the constant, let me be clear, Rob Pelinka, I do not think has done a good job. Okay? I don't think he's done a good job. I don't think he's done a good job putting together that roster. And would I trust him to put together a team around LeBron James that is best suited for him? I think it stands to reason that the answer is probably no. I don't think it's that hard. You just find 4 shooters, or if you're planning with him and AD, just find 3 guys that could space out the floor. I don't think it's rocket science to try to figure it out, but they've screwed it up. That being said, this whole turning LeBron James into a victim of this circumstance makes me want to throw up. Bro, the roster is the roster because of LeBron James. He is not the victim of this. They've signed every effing person that Clutch has had. Do you think that, they had KCP, they had Montrez, they had Taylor Horton-Tucker, they had Ben McLemore, they had Kendrick Nunn, they had Juan Toscano-Anderson, they had Lonnie Walker, they had Anthony Davis. They have all of them. They went and literally got the owner of the Wizards to trade them Russell Westbrook because he pressured them into that. This whole, they need to get LeBron some guys. They've just done a bad job. Act like the roster isn't the roster because of LeBron James. And they just need to keep on getting rid of stuff that they would have in the future because they need to win right now. And he doesn't have good enough players around him. Well, no shit. The reason you don't have good enough players around him is because you convinced the owner of the Wizards to trade Russell Westbrook. You wanted that. The reason you don't have any other future assets and that first-round pick is looked at as gold is because you traded all for Anthony Davis. What are we doing here? Their whole situation is in part because of LeBron. Let's not act like he's just a victim that sits there while the roster builds shit around him. A lot of this shit is guys that are literally part of their agency. There's a reason that they got them. And it's year after year. Those guys are on the roster. So, do you think Lonnie Walker's there because he's the best fit with LeBron James and with Anthony Davis? Or do you think Lonnie Walker's there because he happens to be represented by the same people? Do you think that Ben McLemore was there and literally couldn't get a job anywhere else in the league because he was a great fit and because he was going to help them win a title, or because he was part of them? Do you think they held on to Taylor Horton-Tucker instead of moving him when he had some value? because Taylor Horton-Tucker was so great and they really thought it was part of the future? Or because they didn't want to move him because they were told, hey, don't move this guy. He's part of us, and we want to benefit from this ridiculous contract extension that you'll probably stupidly sign him up to. Like, so then when I see the whole, like, well, the Lakers really owe it to LeBron to move their first-round picks and move it, like, what are we paying attention to? Let's stop acting like their management and people there have been acting unilaterally this entire time, and he's just some helpless victim to a crap roster. It makes me want to throw up, bro. Truly. Like this martyrdom, he's a victim of this. LeBron pressuring Lakers. Bro, all he's been doing is pressuring them for 5 years, and look at what their roster looks like now. At what point do you just say, all right, fine, we're not gonna... I'm sure he would have them. Who could we find that's a Clutch client? He'd probably want them to trade their first-round pick and somebody else for Keldon Johnson because he's represented by Clutch. If he could have his bidding. Like, I mean, come on. Let's stop acting like he hadn't had power. They've been doing what he wanted them to do. The roster is the roster because of him, not because he hadn't spoken up enough or that they've done goofy crap. They have been, their problem is that they allowed it to happen. And that was the price of doing business with LeBron James. But he is a terrible general manager. Terrible.
Amen.
Wow.
Amen. Bravo.
Wow.
Chris Vernon. That was a heater right there. I agree with every word you said except for one thing. One thing you said right at the beginning. Rob Pelinka has done a poor job building this roster. It's LeBron James who has done a poor job building this roster. You nailed it at the end saying the mistake was allowing him to do it. The reason why that they had all of this talent to trade for Anthony Davis, all of this talent to make the Westbrook mistake was because of the right decisions by the front office. Think about all the young guys that Pelinka-led front office has brought in over the years. Larry Nance, Josh Hart, your guy, Zubats, Ingram, Ball, Caruso, Kuzma, Thomas Bryant. Like, Thomas Bryant was there before. He was a Lakers pick. Like, they have, throughout the draft, up top, in the middle, in the second round, nailed picks over and over and over again. Wagner, he's still playing right now in Orlando, getting minutes. Like, they've had a lot of hits, right? Yeah. So I think for the Lakers right now, everything we're talking about here, yes, with LeBron James playing still at a top 10 level, Anthony Davis, if he were to theoretically return and be healthy from April, May, and you'd hope June, then yes, it's worth giving up the 2 first-round draft picks. Yes, it would be. But that's a huge hypothetical there. And if you're the Lakers, in the back of your mind, you have to think to yourself, past this season. You got to do it. You have to, because you could trade both of those picks, and then LeBron James could still say this offseason, I want out. He could still say that. Or maybe you just decide you're done with Clutch and you want to just build this the way you were prior with all of those young guys and build to the draft and build organically and sign the next free agent who's not going to control your entire front office. Maybe that's what the Buss family and Rob Pelinka are thinking, that they want an out, and the out is retaining their draft picks for a more flexible future moving forward where it could involve LeBron, where you use the 3 picks in the offseason because if 2 becomes 3, your 2023 first from the Pelicans becomes eligible to be dealt during the offseason. So 2 picks becomes 3 picks, and you have more cap space. You have a future path with LeBron or without LeBron. And I wonder if that's where the Lakers are approaching this from, that they don't want to, lock themselves in right now by making a deal and then having nothing for the future. Whereas if they wait until the summer, they have much more flexibility with or without him.